Worldwide, there are between 6,000 and 7,000 languages spoken by 7 billion people, and it's estimated that more than half of the world's population is bilingual or multilingual. To talk about bilingualism, we first need to think about the connection between language and thought. Through language, human beings can communicate and interact with each other and the world around as well, thanks to the ability of language to transmit thoughts by formulating sentences and words. Among the main theories on the relationship between language and thought, the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis states that our way of perceiving and thinking about the world is deeply influenced by the language we use. Whorf discovered that in the language of an indigenous Amerindian population, the Hopi language, time is not expressed through the present, past, and future tense, but is understood more as a process and a manifestation of a phenomenon. For example, the sentence, "They stayed 10 days," in Hopi language becomes "They stayed until the 11th day," or "They left after the 10th day." Lara Boroditsky, a Belarusian psychologist and professor at Stanford University, explained that in the language of an Aboriginal community in Northern Australia, there are no words like right and left, but cardinal points such as north, south, west, and east. According to the psychologist, this kind of orientation will directly influence the way people can perceive the concept of space. So, if language and thought are strongly connected, what will be the reactions of bilingual people when they need to use and manage 2 or more languages? Scientific research has found that when the brain is younger and more plastic, the connections between nerve cells are much more effective. Therefore, they also facilitate the process by which children can learn and acquire new languages in addition to the native one. While in adults, the process by which neurons are connected to exchange information becomes less rapid, even in the linguistic process. Each bilingual may achieve different skills in each of their languages. For example, there are those who can understand and speak perfectly but cannot write in one of the 2 languages, or they have the ability to write and read in one language but have difficulties in another, or those who are known as balanced bilinguals when they are considered to have the same communication skills in both languages. The most common situations that can occur in the interaction between 1 or more language codes are language transfer, which mainly consists of mixing 2 languages in spoken language, as when a bilingual speaks in the second language with the influence of the native one in terms of pronunciation, vocabulary, and syntax. Inhibitory control, which is adopted to choose the use of one language rather than the other according to the bilingual's linguistic environment. And code switching, which occurs when bilinguals use different words in the same conversation, for example, by starting a sentence in one language and finishing it in another. There are many factors that influence how a bilingual may interpret the concept of biculturalism, such as the frequency of contact with the 2 languages and cultures, the linguistic competence, and above all, the sense of belonging. For example, there are those who can feel to belong to only one of the 2 cultures, or to neither of the 2 cultures, or there are those who decide to maintain aspects of both cultures by creating a 3rd culture or 3rd space. Generally, bilingual people are considered to have 2 personalities because of their ability to formulate thoughts in different ways according to the characteristics of the language they are speaking, the context and interlocutors they are dealing with, as well as depending on their own experiences and sensitivity. Just think that every language has different sounds, and switching from one language to another also means using different tones to speak, and different communication styles may cause different feelings, impressions, and emotions. Now, let's move on to an analysis of some different worldviews that can be influenced by the use of 2 very different languages, such as Italian and Chinese. Starting from a linguistic point of view, Generally, in a Chinese family, words expressing affection or love are not always made explicit, in contrast to what happens in an Italian family or in any other emotional relationship, where expressions such as ti voglio bene or ti amo are very common and important. According to the Chinese view, the deepest manifestations of love are embodied in some small recommendations, such as eat well, sleep early, dress warmly, and don't get sick. In couple relationships, in Italian, the verb innamorarsi, that means to fall in love, is reflexive. Given that in reflexive verbs, the action performed by the subject falls in most cases on the subject itself, it means that the subject performs both the action of falling in love and being unconsciously affected by it. Well, it seems that in Italian, just literally through the use of the reflexive, there is a conception of love as a purely automatic and instinctive phenomenon. In Chinese, the expression 谈恋爱, which literally means to talk about love, is a process by which people generally talk and discuss in order to know each other, so that falling in love would be the final result of the whole process. So, it seems to suggest that in the Chinese view, although love is irrational, there is still an appeal to rationality. Regarding friendship, in Italian, the term friend is mainly followed by verbs such as to be, to have, to find, which mostly denote feelings, impressions, and emotions, while in Chinese, the noun friend is often related to the verbs to do, to become, to exchange, which refer to more practical actions and behaviors. Italian terms suggest that friendship is something that comes from within spontaneously and doesn't take place by following a list of rules and practices, in contrast to the idea of friendship from a Chinese point of view, where emotional feelings arise after some acts and behaviors that should be respected in order to build a good relationship. As regards the concept of happiness, in Chinese, there are two different ways to express two different kinds of happiness. The term 快乐 indicates a general state of well-being, such as being satisfied with love, health, and friendship. The term 幸福 expresses a more intense level of happiness that is above all designated to last over time. In Chinese, this is a very positive word and indicates a sense of total satisfaction as well as a cheerful life without problems and obstacles. The same goes for the concept of life. In Chinese, there are three different terms to describe life. The first word, 生命, refers to any living being with vital energy, such as humans, animals, plants, microorganisms. The second word, 生活, refers to our daily life, which is made up of many things, such as work, study, family, love, and social interaction. The third word, 人生, includes all the experiences and adventures that shape the life of each individual, a journey during which we constantly meet new people and live new experiences. So, all of us can interpret life differently according to what we have experienced. Well, the main purpose of this short analysis is to demonstrate that people who use two or more languages can also have different perceptions of themselves and the surrounding world as well. Just as Charmaine said, knowing a second language is like having a second soul.